It's pretty up in the air as to how this is all ultimately going to go down. Bernie Sanders has been leading the charge to add paid sick days to this in the Senate. Let's take a listen to what he had to say to Chris Hayes.
Put up or shut up. If you can't vote for this, to give workers today who really have hard jobs, dangerous jobs, if you can't give them, you can't guarantee them paid sick leave, don't tell anybody that you stand with working families.
So again, I think it really sucks that they separated these two pieces out, that you have separate votes on the tentative agreement and then on the paid sick leave. It should have been put into one and, have that put up or shut up moment. But, as it stands, those two votes are separate. So it's pretty clear the tentative agreement, that piece will go through. In the House, of course, you had, almost all the Democrats and some Republicans also voting for that. The paid sick leave passed by a much more narrow margin. Part of this story, though, is you had progressives agitating from one side. And like I said, Jamal Bowman and Bernie Sanders really leading the charge there. But I think also what put Democrats, put some pressure on them to at least have this, what may end up being a show vote on paid sick leave, is that you did have a few Republican senators in particular who made some noise about this being unfair to workers. So you have basically Marco Rubio, I think, was the first out to get to the left of Joe Biden on labor relations, which is just pathetic. He says here the railways and workers should go back and negotiate a deal that the workers, not just the union bosses, will accept. But if Congress is forced to do it, I will not vote to impose a deal that does not have the support of rail workers. Okay, that's interesting. Then you have Politico reporter Burgess Everett here reporting on what Minority Whip John Thune said. This is just underscoring the uncertainty of how this will all go. He says, I don't know at this point where the votes are on either the base agreement or the paid leave piece. Josh Hawley eventually came out and also sort of getting to the left of Joe Biden on this particular labor issue. Let's go ahead and put this next piece up on the screen. He says he will vote in favor of the 7 days of paid sick leave for rail workers, but does not support the underlying bill. And he put out his own tweet. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen. He says, Mr. Pro-Worker Joe Biden wants to use the federal government to force railroad workers in Missouri, which of course the state Josh Hawley represents, and around the nation to accept contract terms they rejected, not with my support. And finally, we also had Ted Cruz making some noise here, saying that Congress should not crush unions with the rail deal, as he makes the case the GOP should ditch the, quote, old National Chamber of Commerce Republican mindset that if unions want it, we're against it. We are the party of working men and women. So you at least have three here who seem to indicate they'll vote for the paid sick leave. I mean, Ted Cruz, we'll see. His is a lot more ambiguous.
Most surprising to me.
I agree.
But I've been thinking about it. I really think there is like almost a libertarian aspect to this, where you're like, how can you have the government force you to accept a deal that you don't want to, which is not illegal? Like, this is outside of minimum, like somebody's not paying paid wages. Like, they're outright bigfooting you and being like, no, what you want is trumped by national interest. So it's like, okay, then pay us.
Yeah.
Like, if you want that, then the Fed should pony it up, or they should come to some agreement there. Yeah. I really believe that this is a potent and interesting one. I also do want to say it's a savvy move, because you both get to be pro-labor, and also if it doesn't pass and the economy is bad, it's going to be bad for Joe Biden.
Right.
So it's one of those
that's
things.
that's the other part of this. Is there's clearly there's a partisan motivation here. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm of two minds about it. First of all, we do have to note, in the modern era, in my entire life, to have a national Republican figure saying anything that is remotely pro-labor, siding with labor in any way, is an extraordinary event. I mean, it just hasn't happened. And even previously, remember Marco Rubio put out that op-ed about the Amazon down in Bessemer, the Union Drive, and it was very in this one limited instance, maybe I support the workers because of the woke HR department, and made it very specific to the Amazon executives. But this is more broad. And look, these three have taken a better position on this issue than Joe Biden, Mr. Pro-Worker, as Josh Hawley says. And I do think the fact that they came out so quickly is part of why we're even having a vote on paid sick leave. So that matters. Just keep in mind, though, that in the House, Every Democrat voted for the paid sick leave and 3 Republicans voted for it. So before we get ahead of ourselves in terms of like a new era in the Republican Party or whatever, but you know, these little things do make a difference and help to shift what is possible. If you had a bipartisan pro-labor coalition, my God, that would be an extraordinary thing in America.
If I was a Republican, like I said, politically savvy, I would want the economy to be bad under Biden. I'm not saying this is moral, but I'm saying that this is what politically that you would want to do.
Yeah.
And also, you get to say like, well, I'm standing with the workforce. What are you doing? We have to put yourself on a bad side of politics. Unions are more popular than ever in the year 2022. So look, I mean, my thing is you take cynicism and you just take it where you can get it. And I don't care.
It's a cynical move, but they ended up in the right place, so whatever.
I'm hoping that they do crush the deal because, I mean, from what I have heard, there have been ongoing discussions on the GOP caucus side, and part of the reason that John Thune is out there is because, look, if they had only 3 people who were dissenting, then they would come out and they would have had the vote last night. They held the floor open, actually, quite late. They were not able to get to closure. Now there's a lot of bargaining and all that going on right now. So maybe there is a secret not even a caucus, maybe there is a sizable contingent of the GOP which is coming out and be like, you know, politically this is not so bad for us. Also, as far as I know, I have not seen McConnell make a major statement on this yet. I also did reach out to the Trump campaign to ask for a position on this. We haven't heard anything yet. So I'm also curious, like, if I were Trump, this is one of those things that I would come out to and to try and make it. He's too enmeshed in
retweeting like QAnon nonsense.
But if I were him,
Nick Fuentes.
this would be a very, very savvy move on his part
2016 Trump, he would do it.
He would do it.
This dude today, he's lost. I don't know. He's lost the plot on basically everything. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting moment. I guess the other thing that I just want to point out is in terms of the House. I think the right move for progressives who wanted to force the hand of the White House and really make a statement here and be as pro-labor as possible would have been to vote against the tentative agreement. Now, I think even without them, it probably still would have passed. But the correct move was to vote down that agreement and vote for the paid sick leave. If you had progressives in the Senate who were staking out that position of like, we are not going to vote for the tentative agreement, we will vote for the paid sick leave, possibly you could have enough votes against the tentative agreement to actually vote it down. But since the Democrats have almost all decided just to go along with the Biden administration on the tentative agreement and then, you know, go for this separate vote on the paid sick leave, which is probably doomed to fail, I think that's very unlikely to happen. So the way things stand this morning, it looks very much like these workers are going to end up getting the short end of the stick, getting screwed over once again, betrayed by the very man who claimed that he was going to be their champion. It's a sad state of affairs. It will have reverberating impacts across the labor movement. It will have reverberating impacts across our supply chain and the rail industry for years to come. And did not have to be this way. Did not have to be this way whatsoever. Biden had many other choices. If he wanted to take the moderate position, he could have, you know, gone for the deal, but added the paid sick leave in. That would have been a much better state of affairs than what we're ultimately likely to end up with here.
Very true.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us. And if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.